Introducing a very special guest to the pod. He's the Texags Director of Broadcast Media and the host of Texags Radio. It's David Nuno. How you doing, David? Of
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me on. Appreciate the few minutes.
course, happy to have you on, man. We're excited to talk about baseball. We haven't been able to do it on our own the last few weeks because none of us have really kept up enough to know what's going on. So we're excited to talk to you about kind of what just transpired last week and then what we're expecting for the College World Series. So obviously, we just swept Oregon at home. Two super exciting games, a couple big injuries. Big moment for Schlossnagel and the boys over in Aggie Maroon. What did you think about how this weekend transpired and kind of the Olsen magic?
Well, a couple things. I wasn't surprised by it at all because I've watched this team. I've watched since Jim took over. Jim took over right before I took the job at Texags in June, and just everything that I knew about him from his time at TCU, everything that he laid out in his introductory press conference has come to fruition, right? Like last year, they were so close to going to another super regional. This year's team has been just phenomenal when you think about the youth and also the mix of veterans out there on the roster. So the actual super regional itself, to me, was kind of encapsulating what kind of season it's been for A&M outside of the injuries, of course, but a team that when they're patient at the plate will make you pay. And sometimes that means only 2 hits and still scoring 9 runs. And that was the beauty of what we saw there in the 7th inning against Oregon in game 2. They just, there's no panic with this team from the very beginning. You just know it doesn't matter if it's the 5th inning, the 6th inning, the 7th inning. While we fans and analysts may get a little bit nervous and like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to do this one. Ryan Prager's out. I don't know if we're gonna do this one. Shane Sadeo's out. They, as a team, the culture of that is just to stay in the moment and find a way to get it done, and that's what they've done.
Yeah, we recorded kind of around this podcast last night, just to kind of fill it in. And I mentioned that like last weekend, it felt like there's this factor of inevitability with this team where it's kind of the same feeling as like watching the Chiefs down 17 in the fourth quarter. Like you know that there's an opportunity for them to jump back and bring it in. So you're never giving up when you're watching this squad. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I'll add to that too. The fact that they've done it before, right? Like I think that confidence level that we know how to do this. We've done. I mean, let's not forget it was what 6 weeks ago, a month ago when they were down 9-0 to Georgia and they outscore them 19-0 after that, right? Like teams don't come back from a 9-0 deficit, and if they do, they certainly don't double or more than double the output. So this is
Right.
a team that knows once they get it going, once they find their mojo in a game, they can pour it on.
Definitely. And I think it goes back to, we watched losses TCU teams against us at A&M. They felt kind of like the boogeyman, right? A lot of times we had the better team. We had played, better going up and leading into it. But Sloss had those guys believing in a way, right, where they were going to be able to scrap out some of those games that maybe they didn't deserve to win, right? I'm sure as an Oregon fan, right, you're a little upset seeing, hey, these guys had 2 hits and they're putting up 15 on us or whatever that is. So I think it's important, right? Slosh has got us playing in a way where these little edges, these little gains that we can make along the way are really making the difference for us in the long run.
Well, this is since I met Schloss and Michael Early and the whole crew. I mean, that has been, they want to be very disciplined at the plate. They want to make sure that pitchers have to pitch them strikes, because if you don't swing at balls, they start giving you strikes. And when you get the pitch that you want to hit, that's where you make them pay. And it's not always a home run, right? We'll take a nice little double. And that's how they start pouring it on these pitchers, especially like you look at the Texas pitcher from the second game of the regional. Like that guy was on fire. He was throwing high heat. He had control that day. A couple of bad throws, but overall he was on fire. And they just stay patient at the plate, and then it pays off. And Ryan Broniger, who works with us at Texags, always says the game will pay you back if you do the right things.
Yep.
And that's what I think happened in that Oregon, right? In that Oregon game. They did the right things, and eventually it caught up with the Oregon pitchers, and A&M was able to pounce on them.
Yeah, you can definitely feel there's like a lot of that translating into getting hard outs, hard at bats. We're raising that pitch count. I think that happened in the Texas game. It's like, yeah, this guy is pitching lights out, but he's got 95 pitches in the 4th or 5th inning. So, I think that's definitely coming through, and that's a big reason for their success.
Guys, and let's be honest, to win a championship, sometimes luck plays a part. People don't want to admit that, but great teams get lucky, right? A pass doesn't go your way in football, or it goes your way, I should say, or a penalty, or freak foul. There's so many different ways. An error at third base that should be a routine play bounces off the ball, bounces off the base, excuse me, and there's an opportunity to score. That it's part of the game is being lucky. But what you do in those moments, are you prepared for that? That's not lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, where preparation meets luck, that's definitely what we want to see. So one thing I want to touch on, something we can control as fans, right? Or at least we feel like we can control, right? Coach Sloss he's 10-0 at home at Olsen Field, at Bluebell, right? In the postseason, 37-3 at home overall this year. Talk to us about what the addition of the Aggie Alley, Section 12, all the investments that they've made in Bluebell as a venue. How does that atmosphere really compare to what it's been previously? And I mean, obviously it looked incredible on TV, but talk to us about what it was like in person.
Well, it's interesting because when I was in school back in the 90s, it was an awesome atmosphere, right? And then from what I hear, the years that I was gone, because I was gone for most of those years, it continued being great, right? But I think Schloss's addition and emphasis in the 12th man being a huge part of it, and Aggie Alley, and look, Aggies are going to go support their team regardless. But when you have a team that can match it, and a team that I think people believe in, right? There's one thing, like in football, oftentimes we could be pretty good this year, and then it doesn't meet the reality. This baseball team has met the reality, and I think they've become so popular that people who don't follow college baseball, like you guys said to yourself, at one point you weren't following it as much, but they're so good. How do you not follow it? And I think that's what is translating at the gates when you go to games. I got to go watch this baseball. I have people that are not even Aggies asking me about tickets. I'd like to come check out that atmosphere because it is special. And then here's the beauty of it. It translates on television. The Texas game, if you weren't there, so I saw most of that game in person, and then I finished it at home because I felt like I was the issue at the ballpark, right? I got home and I noticed the same kind of energy that I felt in the ballpark. It spoke to me on TV. How about that Oregon second game? There wasn't a person out there that didn't come away super impressed. Victor Reyes, who is the ESPN announcer, it was his first time at College Station, blown away with College Station, was on my show the other day, and he's like, I'd like to live there. And the atmosphere at Olsen was ridiculous. So I think we start becoming who we think we are, and then people get into it, and then more people show up.
Yeah, absolutely. It was extremely refreshing to see Texas A&M getting kind of national recognition in a positive light rather than some of the more negative ways that we typically see in the football offseason. So glad to hear it.
and some of that also is just we live in this social media world where everything is negative anyway. And then the algorithm, the way things are geo-targeted, that's what you see more of. The reality is every fan base has their cool things and their weird things. It doesn't, like we all got a bunch of weirdos and we all got a bunch of real passionate, maroon goggle guys. That's just part of being a fan. It's fanatical, and that's what makes it great.
100%.
Yeah, absolutely. So we mentioned the injuries to Braden Montgomery, also Shane Sadeo, which Braden Montgomery's been announced that he's out for the season. Hopefully he doesn't affect his draft stock too much. What do you think about the effect that this is going to have on the team moving forward? I know in baseball, you can kind of get by a little bit in the postseason as long as you're hot and everyone's playing well, missing a star player, but obviously there's an impact to be felt here.
Well, a couple of different layers to that. Everybody in this part of the postseason is hot, right? So you're going to run into another, like Florida, supremely talented team, a team that I think when SEC play started, everybody would have said they're going to the College World Series. They almost didn't make the postseason. They were, they had to take a deep run in Hoover, a nice run in Hoover, for them to even get invited to the tournament. So you have that. They're playing at a hot level. Clemson's hot. Florida State's hot. Like, they're all hot. Tennessee won the SEC tournament. Yeah, they struggled in a couple of games, but they have found their way. So everybody's going to be hot at this level. When it comes to A&M and specifically, do I think losing Braden Montgomery makes it much more difficult to win a championship? Losing Shane Sadeo? Absolutely. You don't get better by losing two of your key guys. There's no doubt about that. But how many runs did they score against Oregon? And then think about the adversity they went through. Ryan Prager was out early. Shane Sadeo was out early, and yet they still found a way to win. This team has got a mettle to them, a mental toughness that I think goes far beyond. And also, you take those guys off the roster. How do you feel about the depth and the talent beyond them? How does it compare to the rest of the field? I think it compares pretty well. Shane Sadeo became a starter just over a month ago. He wasn't even a starter. He was really good. I'm not taking away any. And his loss is a huge loss. But my point is, people can step up and deliver. Shane Sadeo was given an opportunity to start, and he made the most of that start. there have been times where Justin Lampkin has been huge for this team over the last couple of years. He's going to get an opportunity. Tanner Jones has had moments. Was it the Vanderbilt game that he was huge? Or maybe I had those reversed with Justin Lampkin. But regardless, these guys have had their moments. They're going to have to step up. For A&M to win a College World Series, they're going to need 95% of the team to play at what we've seen them do for most of this season, which will be much harder because you're taking on elite pitching staffs that have made it here for a reason. Some of them have been hot all year long. Some of them have gotten hot at the right time.
Definitely. And that's it. That's what we're talking about, right? Is that you're totally right. Everybody's hot going in Omaha, right? So it obviously makes it, the stakes are up, and we want to make sure, we've got, I think the bracket worked out well for us in terms of how we drew there. Obviously everybody's, pretty competitive, but we want to make sure, we have a good matchup. Talking about our matchup, right? We lost 2 of 3 in Gainesville early in the year to Florida. I think we can both agree they were a different team at that point. Talk to us about the matchup. Do you feel like we've got the edge going in? I feel, obviously we're number 2 in the favorites in terms of taking it all home, but how do you feel like we match up with Florida specifically?
Well, I don't have the numbers right in front of me, but if I remember correctly, that was a very close series, right? Like it was a run or two here and there. So could they have won that series? Absolutely. And they went to Gainesville, which is a hard place to play regardless. So how do I think we match up with them? Look, Jack Caglione scares me, right? He is fantastic. Even though he had his struggles in the Super Regional, the guy is a fantastic player. I think we match up though. I mean, we were not far away from winning the SEC, guys, right? We were in the mix. We had a little bit of a drought towards the end of SEC play, and it kind of carried a little bit over to the SEC tournament, but that was more because they were just trying to get healthy and get back to College Station before the regional. So all that being said, I think A&M can compete with them, no doubt about that. I think they're asking the same questions. Hey, we're hot, but that A&M team, look, even with their starting pitchers going down, look at what has happened. Like their ace goes down and they still win. Their second guy goes down and he's done for the year and they still win. Those guys get 2 hits and score 9 runs. Like, how do they do that? Like, they're having similar conversations. A&M at their top, I think, is better than Florida at their top. Can Florida beat you? Absolutely. Florida might end up being the Ole Miss from a couple of years ago, a team that barely gets into the tournament and wins the whole darn thing. All these teams are capable. I'm worried about this game, but I don't think if Ryan Prager does get game 1, he's going to have back-to-back, hard outings. So if Ryan Prager gives you your routine 5-6 innings, 7 to 8 strikeouts with Evan Oshibek and Chris Cortez, and I know that offense will be up for the challenge, then I think A&M wins it. If Prager struggles, it's going to be a struggle to beat Florida, no doubt.
Yeah, and honestly, just thinking about this double elimination bracket coming back up, it's interesting because it feels like if you lose that one game, you have such a high hill to climb following that. You have to win the next 4 games, the next 3 games, and you have to play 2 in a day. What do you think about that as far as the NCAA tournament goes in the structure there? I mean, are there changes to be made?
I don't care. Like, I hate to give you that answer. Like whatever's going to help A&M is what I care, right? So if A&M wins game 1, good. I want it to be really hard for Florida and everybody else to get, what I'm saying? Like, I'm an analyst, sure, I'm a broadcaster, but I cover Texas A&M athletics because I'm a student, I'm a fan, or a former student, I'm a fan, I'm an Aggie, right? So this is what the game is set up to be. So let's just maximize it. I do hear all the time that, game 2 of a regional is the most difficult game, the most important one. Game 2 could be the most important one at the next phase. And then College World Series, like, you want to get off to your first game and win that bad boy, right? Yeah. You want to get on the winner's side and keep it rolling. So what happens if you can win game 1? More than likely, the team you're playing against is using their number 2 pitcher that also won their game at the next side, right? So there's a lot to be. To me, it's all about great teams win no matter what the adversity is. And then we can worry about it afterwards and complain. But, like, to me, this is what it's set up to be. Go find a way. And this team has found a way most of the season, which is why I guess I'm not overly concerned.
I'm going to complain up front because it always bothers me, especially with the home team flipping up and down. And
I hate that.
That was ridiculous. We're at our home regional playing as the away team for 3 straight games.
The flip-flop thing that they do, I think, is so ridiculous. Look, there should be a little bit more home field advantage when you play home field and you've earned the right to be a host 100%. Of a regional and a super regional.
Yeah, I used to work for the marketing department at A&M baseball, and it used to drive me insane that we couldn't play our own songs. You can't do anything that's even remotely specific to your own stadium in that regional, super regional. It's crazy. But
Yeah.
just want to look forward again to Omaha. One, important question. I know it's got it on their mind. Who do you think is taking home the Jello shot crown this year? Not A&M.
Oh,
Let's keep A&M out of it just in case. But yeah, the Jello shot crown to Rockies.
yeah. Let me think. Let's talk about this out loud. Florida fans can party, right? Like they know how to party.
I think
I don't-
Kentucky's got a chance.
Kentucky, but see what I read recently that Kentucky doesn't travel well for baseball, so that could affect them. Now, them getting the College World Series may change that. So I got to go with one of the Florida school guys, like Florida State. That's a party school. Florida Gainesville, that's a party school. I'm gonna have to go with one of the Florida schools. If not A&M, because A&M will light it up. We know that.
Yeah. I think it's got to be an SEC school. Very sneaky and had a great successful year across the board in sports. NC State. Those people are maniacs, and a lot of them are probably inbred. But, I think they've got a good shot to put them back there.
I'm trying to see who's won. Oh, did LSU also win the College World Series and the Jello Shot Challenge last year? So there you go.
They did,
So,
and no one's ever going to touch that. I think it was like 68,000 Jello shots.
yeah, I don't want to touch that. I think that's you know where to go, guys. It's called AA. Go have fun.
Yeah. That's that kind of checks out for LSU of them taking the crown by about a mile there. So, and then the last question on the other side of the bracket, who do you like to come in? Let's say we're winning our side of the bracket, we meet in the championship. Who do you like to meet us there? I think we see FSU is really hot. I think we see UNC's winning some scrappy games here and there, and they've got definitely some star power. But curious to get your pick on the other side.
I'm struggling between North Carolina and Tennessee. I think I'm going to say North Carolina just because of Tennessee's issues in the past, and they struggled in the super regional. And by struggling, they won. They moved on. But that being
Evansville,
said,
though,
yeah. Look, I something tells me that North Carolina is just playing with like just that mojo, that winning. They all are at this level, right? But from all of the teams that are on that side, I think North Carolina to me just seems they got the pitching, they've got the clutch gene as well. I'm going to go today. I may change my mind in 12 minutes, but as of right now, I'm going to go with North Carolina.
David, I think all of our listeners are going to assume that I paid you to say that because I'm getting my master's in North Carolina right now. And I've been a North Carolina fan for most of my life. But I want to put it on the record right now that if A&M plays UNC in the championship round, I will be full on rooting for A&M, no questions asked. I need that
It won't
on
be hard
record
for you
right now.
It won't be hard.
No, it won't be hard at all because I'm so invested in what this team's doing and everything that comes with it. UNC can wait. UNC's won me basketball championships in the past. We need some championships in College Station. We need to be able to talk a little smack online. So I'm all for it.
Well, if you would have picked the wrong answer there, we would excommunicate you from our Aggie family, just for the record. So you get to stick around.
That's why it's on record now.
Yep. All right, Dave. Well, I appreciate your time. Just to summarize, I mean, I think we're all pretty happy with the College World Series appearance. I think that was the goal coming into the season. But give us a prediction. Are we taking it home this year?
I'm not really good with predictions because they come back and can we? Yes. Will we? I think we might. But again, it's insurmountable odds, right? You lose your second day starter, you lose your top offensive player, 1A or 1B, depending on how you look at it. Jace and Braden kind of going back and forth all season long. It's going to be very difficult. I'll say this. I wouldn't be surprised if they won it all because of the culture they have established, the offensive output that they can do. It's really going to come down to, I think, not only Ryan Prager getting back to being Ryan Prager, which I fully do expect, but if Justin Lampkin and or Tanner Jones can step up and be that. Because I think if A&M has the lead in the 6th and 7th inning with Chris Cortez pitching the way he's been pitching and Evan Ostenbeck, I don't care if they're playing Tennessee or North Carolina, I like their chances. But again, it's going to have to come down to guys playing the way they played all season long against the odds.
Doesn't it feel good to just be in the conversation and feel like we can win something? It's been a while. I just want to savor this moment and enjoy this because we've gotten here. We had all these expectations and we actually followed through on them. So it's been an amazing season.
I'll disagree. I felt that way in 2022. I was just happy to be invited to the party. I've been going to the party for a couple of years. Now it's my party.
All right. I love that too.
Let's go.
I've been kind of tiptoeing around that, treading lightly when it comes to letting myself get too excited about something and expecting it. So I'm happy to be here, and if it happens, then I'll be ecstatic. But we've got you for another minute here. One more question for you. What do you predict the football team's record to be at the end of Mike Elko's first season as head coach?
I struggle with this one too. And I have not gone line by line each game because I feel like there's too many unknowns, right? Is the offensive line good? Because if the offensive line is good, this is a 9-3, 10-2 team, right?
Yep.
If the offensive line sucks, which is a possibility, I don't think it will be because of the change at the offensive line coach and the overall culture and some new personnel that have come in. But then you're talking 7-5, 8-4. But if the offensive line is good, and we have a season where you protect your quarterback for at least 10 of the 12 games, guys, can we at least get 10 of the 12 games?
Yep.
Like at least Quinn Ewers' injury rate, right? Like he's going to miss a game or two every year, but he plays most of the season. If I can get that kind of thing from Connor Wegman, because we've from Haynes King to Zach Calzada, who, he finished the season, but would he have been able to play in the bowl game in 21, 22? No. So from Max Johnson, it's just too many guys have gone down. Connor Wegman last year. If Connor can stay healthy for 95% of the season, I hope 100%, then this is a 9-3, 10-2 team. If they can't protect him, then, it's going to be the defense is going to be elite enough that they're at least in 7-5, 8-4 team. I'm leaning towards 9-3 at this moment, just because I do believe Adam Cushing is doing a great job with the offensive line. My big questions, though, are the O-line and can the wide receivers also stay healthy and be productive? Because no Anais Smith, no Evan Stewart. I think the Anais loss is much more significant. You've got Noah Thomas, who's shown his ability to be a big play receiver, but not consistently over 12 games. Moose Muhammad, the same storyline. Ja'Day Walker was really nice last year. They're going to need one of those guys to step up and be semi-elite or elite.
Wholeheartedly agree with you. It all comes down to protecting Connor Wegman because we know what he's capable of. Thanks so much, David. Do you have anything you'd like to plug? I know we can find you at TexAgs Radio.
Yeah, you can just go to texags.com. We have our team out there. Ryan Broninger is there. Richard Zane is there. Billy's going to be there covering the College World Series. I'll be in studio with Olin, having a good old time and rooting for the Aggies.
David, thanks so much for joining us today. We really appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys. You take care. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely.